Hi, I'm Kathy,
And I'm Tom.
and we're here to share ideas about how each of us can live smart.
365.
And today is Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And welcome to our second vlog. I want to thank everybody who took the time to comment and send emails about what they liked and thought needed some improvement. And in case you can't tell, we're actually outside today filming this, so there might be a few odd little noises, but we want to be able to take this on the road in the future, so we're trying this. Like I said in the first vlog, this is an experiment, and we're hoping it's as fun for you as it is for us. So today, in honor of Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, baby.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day, dear. In honor of Valentine's Day, we're going to talk about relationships. We are not experts in anyone's relationship except our own, but we have been together for 43 years, and it's getting better all the time. So we thought we'd share a few tips with all of you to see if maybe, who knows, maybe it'll be helpful. We hope it would be helpful and interesting to all of you. So we're going to start with that. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Just that as far as tips go, is like, everybody's in a relationship with somebody. We phase in and out of relationships. Some of them we've had a fortunate experience to have a long-term relationship. And I'm sure everybody learns from every relationship if we're paying attention. But we just want to throw out a couple of tips that can apply that we've learned through the years of being together this long to say, wow, I wish I could tell my former self this wisdom sometime. So if you're starting out a relationship, or you're in your third marriage, or you're in your first and you're trying to make it better, maybe take what you can throughout the rest, but we're just going to give you some things that have helped us along the way.
That's true. You want me to start?
Please.
Okay, first and foremost, I think something that's very, very important is to grow and spend time together. Now, that seems so obvious, it's kind of silly, but the truth is, a lot of times I see couples that they work really hard to fall in love, but once they're together, then it's kind of like, okay, dear, whatever, I'll see you when I see you kind of thing. They work, they have families, they get busy, and they forget to take time together. The one thing Tom and I have had the advantage of doing is we've started businesses together, we've worked together, we play together, we love to learn. Both of us love continuing education, so we're always taking classes, always doing something together. And even when I'm not really crazy, because he wanted to do some photography, and I was like, I kind of like it, but I'm not really into it. But I did it anyway, and we did it together, and it was actually wonderful because we could share that. We share a lot, and I think that's super important in a good quality relationship. So that's my number one. Spend time together, learn together. Okay, your turn.
I would have to just emphasize that hanging out together brings you closer, and the more you do together, the more you bond together, and then that leads into mine is you become best friends. And usually what best friends do, when I see guys do it, it's like, oh, he's my best friend. I go, and your wife? And they sort of look at me like, well, yeah, but. And I go, if you want a good, or they fuss about not having a good relationship, I said, you spend more time with the boys than you do your wife. So the time you put in, going back to that, the time you put in together, of hanging out together, being together, growing together, doing things together. So if you've got a relationship that you're struggling with, just assess how much time you spend together. I mean, that's a
and
big,
the quality of that time
Absolutely.
Together. And that's not to say you don't have girlfriends or guy friends. It's just to say who is the person you'd rather be with regardless.
Yeah, and I don't come home saying I got a new girlfriend, so that's not what we're talking about here.
That's never happened, thank goodness. Okay, so is that your tip? You didn't really get into it.
Well,
okay.
Just basically become best friends if you want to have a solid relationship. And that's so you could have multiple best friends in the sense that, but your significant other, whatever that is, partner, whatever, spend more time with them than anyone, and that'll grow that relationship.
That's very true. Okay, so my next tip is communication. Now, maybe this is self-serving, but both Tom and I are extremely verbal. We like to talk. And that comes fairly easy to us, but not all conversations are easy. And I still think you need to talk. I've observed other relationships. I observed my parents, and they didn't even talk to each other hardly. I knew when my mom was unhappy with my father, but they wouldn't talk about it. They couldn't talk about it. And yet, there's been a few times when Tom and I've stayed up pretty late because we decided we were never going to go to bed angry at each other. We stayed up pretty late having what we call vigorous discussions until we came to some kind of resolution. I think communication between loved ones is very, very important, and ours is just getting better.
Yeah, but yes. And the tip for me was to learn, again, on that communication is I had to learn to really listen. I really did. And I sometimes, you're distracted, you're whatever, or you've built a pattern from whatever to say, oh, I already know what she's saying, or I already know what she understands. And one of the things was about learning to really listen to what she was trying to tell me, not just through the words, but to sense where she's coming from. And she had to be pretty blunt with me at one time where basically, honey, I don't need you to fix it, I just need you to listen. Because I would slip into fix-it mode. How many guys, we're just sort of wired that way. She'd bring me a problem, and let's say it's she's having trouble with whatever, processing how to make a move, or we're dealing in a business venture together. She's not happy with it. So I'm just going, well, we can do this, we can do this. She just sometimes needed to just, honey, I just need you to listen.
Or vent. Sometimes people just need to vent, and we need to have, and that, actually that's communication, is listening and talking and listening, and that's a good quality relationship. And I'm glad that we're getting better at that. It's taken us quite a while. But it's far better than stonewalling or silence. And John Gottman, who's like the expert in relationships, he's always saying you actually need to share something like 7 positives to your close relationships versus 2 negatives. So what that means to me is I need to tell him I care about him, that he did something well, that I appreciate him 7 times more than I criticize anything about him. And hey, we've all been around couples that criticize each other a lot, and it's not only uncomfortable for you, but it's got to be uncomfortable for them.
Why are you in a relationship where you're putting somebody down?
That's true.
That's time to get out of the relationship.
Good. And that kind of leads to my next tip. My next tip is you have to have fun together. You have to enjoy each other's company. It's not just like, I observe other couples that never go out and do anything together, and they don't seem to have any fun. And I don't know, I confessed in my writing a couple of weeks ago, I'm an Enneagram 7, and I need fun. I need to have play. I don't get to do it all the time, but I need to laugh, and I need to have fun, and thankfully Tom indulges me in that.
Well, that goes into mine.
Yes.
Believe it or not, in my opinion, relationships are give and take. In other words, she goes, honey, dancing's really important to me. I'm not a big dancer. I took swing lessons. We have a lot more fun when I go dancing now because I took some lessons to do that. Still not, but I get out. I love to rock and roll, love to have fun. But, we just do it different. But see, when I engaged myself and just, like you said, stonewall, I say, no, I don't do that, and just sit there like a bump, it turned out more fun for me. Same with you. I would, coach, well, let's try this. But, it goes back again. It's about taking time. And that goes into like support. We need to support each other in a lot of ways, and that comes in the little ways.
Well, you're my biggest fan for my blog. You've always been my biggest fan for my writing. It's deeply appreciated.
Well, that's why I'm also engaged in it. So in other words, not I just sit back and say, oh, she's a great writer. I sit back. I try and I like the graphics part. I do the book covers. I proofread everything she ever writes, because then I know what's in her head, which I really love, and look forward to those things.
That's good for me. That's good for me.
Well, then it's easier to understand. So I guess the big thing of some of these tips is like there again is, are you really sitting and listening? Are you listening to that person you're trying to be in a relationship with? Are you really listening? Or are you just trying to come up with something next?
Very true. Well, I imagine we could talk for hours. We have been married a very long time. So these are just a few of the things that are on our minds and in our hearts today that we wanted to share with you. Again, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, we're good for now.
Okay. Again, if you have any comments and you think we could do something a little bit better, we'd love to hear it, because we're open to making this experiment even better. Go ahead.
And I was saying, on this, when you get done with this and you make comments, if you have some tips, we'd love to hear your
Oh,
tips.
yes, we'd love to hear your what works for you, what has worked in your life. I think that's really helpful when we share things.
I think
don't
it's
you?
important to share those ideas, just like
Definitely.
we're trying to give you a few here.
Great idea. And last but not least, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.